Hey, welcome to another video. So I started the Ocarina of Time randomizer stream on Twitch, which is going to be posted on the YouTube channel as well. And, tier list is a thing, and I want to do a tier list of all of the Zelda games, at least the ones that are shown in this tier list right here, which is most, if not all, of the main title ones, it looks like. So first, this is Link to the Past, Four Swords, a little combo pack for the GBA. I mean, Link to the Past is an amazing game, and Four Swords, I didn't like the original Four Swords because, the only way to play is with people. And the fact that, one, I didn't have people who had GBAs and that game at the same time. And, this came out at a time where I lived in a place where everybody was assholes. So, it wasn't really a good game for me to play. Link to the Past is great and being able to do more, but it really brings it down with Four Swords because I couldn't really play it without a link cable and then. So I'm gonna put that. Let's go low A because Link to the Past is a good game. Now, actual Link to the Past SNES version, that's the pinnacle of 2D Zeldas, and that's what every 2D Zelda strives to be, so going S with that. A Link Between Worlds, basically Link to the Past, but more. So it's different, it has the same map, it has the same gameplay, and it has a new mechanic, the wall merging mechanic, because you become a painting. It's very fantastic. You could take tackle any dungeon in any order, especially after the first three, and it's great. The biggest thing that screws it up for me, one, it'd be cooler if it was on a console, but I'm not gonna put that as a big point on any of these games. I'm the one person out of everybody ever who doesn't like the Ravio shop. I understand they did that so you could go to any dungeon at any time, but that kind of kills all exploration ever, because everything you need in the game, no extra crap, anything you need in the game to beat the game is in Ravio's shop. All you need is rupees to get it, and then if you only rent it, you don't have enough rupees to buy, then you die and then you have to go back, and there's a lot of backtracking and a lot of bull crap that you have to go through instead of, okay, well, I'm at the dungeon, I'm at the beginning of the dungeon, now let's go. No, now you have to go back to Ravio's shop, re-rent it, and go back. It's just such a pain, and that's what makes it an A and not an S, for sure. Breath of the Wild, it's the game that people who played the original Zelda thought the original Zelda was on the NES, just now bigger and grander. I wish the cutscenes were a little different, not just in memories and the ending. But great, into the right direction. Open world Zelda game. Everybody's been asking for that in 3D for a while. So even though it has its issues, I'm making it S tier. It is they even though the story, they had to do what they wanted to do with the story, because of how open it is. You could tackle any dungeon in any order, so they had to work with that. And how they did that with the idea that they had, it worked out perfectly. Now, if the same story was there, but it was a little bit more linear, like you could only tackle each divine beast in a certain order, then it'd be dropped. But it's 100% open, so it's fine. Now, at Four Swords Adventures, that is a game that you can play by yourself or with people with GBAs or just by yourself. That's fantastic. I actually really like it because of that. So, but that's really the only major point over Four Swords. I liked it. Didn't grab me as much as the other Zeldas. And it didn't feel like I had a lot of replayability with it either. The Four Swords mechanic and puzzles are really cool, but it didn't grab me as much as it could have. Link's Awakening. I believe the first mobile Zelda game. And for it being that, I think it's really good. For what it is, being a mobile Zelda, even though it's small and it doesn't look fantastic by today's standards, being the first mobile Zelda, and it still has the 2D Zelda feel with a little extra 2D platforming with it. Majora's Mask. So at first, Majora's Mask was hated because of how it did things, but then there was a resurgence in like early 2010s that everybody just started loving the game. Not started, but I guess there was an uproar of people who loved it, and now like it's like, oh, it's the best Zelda. It's better than Ocarina of Time. I have my own problems with it. It's basically bad Breath of the Wild to me. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's super enjoyable. And it has a lot of themes of Breath of the Wild, more side quests and dungeons and stuff like that. But it has more side quests and dungeons in a way of still being linear. It's not an open world game. You still have to tackle each dungeon one dungeon at a time, and a lot of it could be a pain in the ass, especially like getting the mirror shield. I hate when you start a game in any game ever, and then and you've played it before, and this happens. The more times you play the game, the more times this happens in your head. It's like, oh wait, that part happens. I am not looking forward to that part, and then that kind of like, the more times the game has those kind of moments, the less replayability it has with me. It could be a great game. It could be fantastic the first time around, but the more moments like that, where it's like, oh, I have to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Oh, that side quest sucked. That pulls it back. And Majora's Mask has a lot of that. You can't really progress through the game that well without knowing all the side quests, and it's a very weird Zelda game for me. So I'm gonna put that in B. It's still fantastic, and I love the transformation mask. That brings up a whole new thing with the masks, and obviously they're replacement for items like Digger Scrub. Like they have transportation and they replace an item. That's the two things. Digger Scrub's going to blue and could fly, but he's also a slingshot. Zora is a boomerang, but also can swim. Goron could do a lot of rolling, but he is also the Megaton Hammer. Just replacing those items, and then the great deity is the fully powered Master Sword with lasers and awesomeness. He's Adult Link, but even cooler. But yeah, so there are a lot of cool things, but there's a lot of things that pull it back too. And the time, I don't like the time. I don't like being on a time schedule. I know playing the song on time backwards slows it down, but I still don't like being constricted by time, and then if you screw up, then now you have to redo a bunch of things to get to where you were. Yes, you have some items to make it easier, but still gross. I don't like forced backtracking. The original Zelda, it's what kicked it off. It's the game, like, how do you not put the original on the S rank? How? It's what started it all, and it's what Breath of the Wild is 3D this. Every game wants to be this, and it's this. Ocarina of Time, super nostalgic. I still find it, one of the best Zeldas ever. Some of the mechanics are outdated, but I could still replay it over and over and over again. There are a couple things, because it is outdated, that some mods have fixed, and the 3DS version fixed, but we're going off this. It's probably my personal favorite Zelda game, 100%. But, like, the iron boots and the hover boots, you have to use the start menu every time to do it. Changing back to a kid, you have to, constantly travel over to Temple of Time and stuff like that. And yes, at the time, that's what they had to do in order to make that possible. And it being still my personal favorite game, I think if you look at it a little bit more objectively, I'm going to put it as a very high A. very high A. So like, it could be low S or high A, but I'm gonna put it on A. Okay, Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. They did. My mouth is stupid. I'm gonna judge these games as one because they are almost as one. They are basically the same game, just kind of different. And obviously, they were planning on making a third one because, Ages being wisdom, Seasons being power, the two parts of the Triforce. We've missed courage. We don't have the green one. We don't have 4. It sucks. And one, that's gonna put it down because they didn't actually go for exactly what they wanted to. They kind of screwed the pooch on that one. So that kind of brings it down because of the the theming of the games gets screws up when you miss one entire third of the Triforce. But the games itself, it's basically Link's Awakening Plus. But I feel like it's a little more convoluted in how to get places, and it's a little harder. But I mean, they're not. I mean, for portable Zelda games, they're really not bad either. So I'm gonna put them on B. I'm putting them on B. Phantom Hourglass. I didn't like it. Going through like it's a Wind Waker game. Well, it's off the Wind Waker timeline. I understand using the stylus to move Link, and they made that work, but I don't know. It didn't grab me. It was boring, and what I talked about forced backtracking, I hated the that labyrinth, or that I forgot the name of the place because I don't like this game, so I don't play it. But the place you have to keep on going to, once you get the Phantom Hourglass refilled, and you get more time to go through it, but you have to go through past the guards. You have more items to go even further, and you keep on going further, but you're still backtracking. You're doing the same crap over and over and over again. It's like a HUD that after every temple, you're like, oh man, I have to go back there again. It's like, okay, I can't look forward to being in the next temple because I know right after that I have to go back to this thing, and I hated that. And I'm putting that on a D. The story is fine. It's nothing special. The ending's pretty cool. I like the ending. But yeah, no, I just didn't like it. Skyward Sword. I haven't even played it through twice fully because of how annoying the motion controls are. I mean, swings are usually pretty responsive, not 100%, and even make it full swings. I know some people didn't have problems, some people did. But anytime you have to stab, there should have been a button, because stabbing just does not work. You have to do it 50 times. Like, okay, now it works. No, you're like, yeah, I'm actually stabbing. I'm trying to do it, and it doesn't work, and I hate it. So the motion controls suck. The most linear hand-holding Zelda ever. You could say that about Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. They could be hand-holding, but they're really not to the point where Skyward Sword, literally the dowsing mechanic is a fine example. It's like, oh, this is exactly where you need to go. You need to follow this thing. Oh, you got the thing. Oh, now you have to follow this thing. No open world. You got Skyloft, and it's super boring and takes super long to go through Skyloft and stuff like that. And I get it's a HUD, and then you only got the 3 areas, which is their own little segments. It doesn't feel like an open world. It doesn't feel like an adventure. It really feels like level. And there's only 3 areas you go to. You go back to them twice, more than twice sometimes, and especially the first area. You go there 6, 7 times just so you can fight the imprisoned multiple times. It's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. The only thing I like about it is the story, and that's it. The origins of Hyrule is fantastic, and how the curse that Demise puts on Link makes the rest of the game make sense, because of how there's an eternal fight between a reincarnation of Link and Ganon, who's a reincarnation of Demise, who's just reliving over and over again. Reincarnation of Zelda. All that always, explaining that is fantastic. But the game itself fucking sucked. Spirit Tracks. Spirit Tracks basically grabbed and took what Phantom Hourglass did and made it not suck. Like, yeah, it still had the same controls, but like traversing the world was a little more fun because it was different. The story was a little bit better. You know, finding the new Hyrule, which is pretty cool. Like, hey, you know, we're not just on the ocean anymore. We're on land and we're actually evolving, basically. Less backtracking. And I just think it is a better Phantom Hourglass. I'm going to put that on C. Minish Cap. I think this is probably the pinnacle of handheld Zeldas. Because it, you know, instead of having a 8-bit look, it has a 16-bit look on a 32-bit system. You can say that about Four Swords as well, but Minish Cap is really, I mean, it's an actual full adventure, and it's the one made by Capcom, which is interesting. I don't know if any, I don't exactly remember if any of the other Zeldas are outsourced like that. This one is, but Minish Cap, you know, it's super fun, you know, and having the Minish, you know, being able to shrink down the size and having that whole mechanic is very cool, and I like that a lot. So I'm gonna make this, you know, since it's the best handheld. But it is very short, and sometimes it can be a little confusing. You know, the map's not too big, and knowing it's not intuitive to know where to go next. At least, you know, not how I see it. But I'm gonna give it a pretty high A. Definitely not Ocarina high A, but giving it a high A. Wind Waker. Now the actual Wind Waker. I liked it. Even like as a kid, I was like, oh man, it's like very toony and but I mean, retroactively looking at it, it is a good Zelda game. Sailing can get boring because there's a lot of open ocean, not a lot of islands. Which is kind of the point of the game, which I like the HD version fixed that by having the faster sail, but you have to know that it's at the auction. You have to be able to have the rupees and be able to get it in the auction, and I don't even know when you could actually start getting that. So you're still starting off with the crappy sail and always doing the Wind Waker thing and be like, okay, now I know where to go and I got it every day. And that was very tedious. The biggest blemish on this game. People walking upstairs, I don't appreciate it. My cat's looking too. And I'm getting messages. What the fuck? Anyway, the biggest blemish on Wind Waker is that the Triforce, collecting the 8 pieces of the Triforce part, the Triforce chart quest, that absolutely ruins the pacing of the game, and like it brings it down so hard. It halts the game. Like, I can't explain why it's so bad, but it is so bad. It's just a lot of tedium, and especially in the original one, it made it even harder. You have to pay Tingle, you know, so many rupees. I know it's just an absurd amount of rupees. So you have to get a bigger wallet, and then you have to be able to pay out the rupees for him to read the chart so you know where to go, and then you don't even exactly know where to go because your map is not filled up because you didn't think, oh, let's fill out the map because this is going to be a side quest. You don't know that, so now you have to go feed the fish, and then you have to make a side quest, and then you have to get, it's tedium. It's the most tedious thing ever, and outside of that, it brought a lot of cool things to the Zelda world. It's just, and the dungeons are cool. The story is amazing. The last fight is epic, but the sailing's boring. And the Triforce chart quest is awful. So I'm gonna bring this in a high. I'm giving it a high B. And actually, I'm gonna move Majora's Mask over here. There we go. Nah. They're almost equal. I'm gonna keep that there. Twilight Princess. Which is basically Ocarina Plus. It's Ocarina of Time. You know, they really want to make it, you know, since the backfire of Wind Waker. It's like, okay, well, they were looking for Ocarina of Time, but grittier. And they did that. And so aesthetically, it's grittier and it's cooler, and like I actually like it. It's a little more realistic, but how they did it even though it was only the GameCube era, they made it look really good, and that's what I liked about it. It felt like it looks better than, like, at the time it looked better than Wind Waker, but Wind Waker is also able to hold up better because it's not as detailed. But that's why they HD'd everything. So it looks cool. It plays great. Hyrule Field's bigger, but that, Epona is just so much faster now, so you can go across it. Teleporting, unlike Wind Waker, where teleporting you only have a couple points, you have a lot of points in this where you could fast travel once you get through the first act of the game, really. First 3 temples. Then you get the Master Sword, then you get the capability to transform willingly, so then you could fast travel anywhere. And you could fast travel as long as you've gone there before, because you do the whole battle thing, then you can fast travel there. It seems pretty reasonable. So I like that quite a bit. The story is fantastic. It's a little bit cliche and redone, but it's nice. The final battle is super epic. Again, the gameplay is great. The only thing I really don't like about it is the when at first the getting the tears as a wolf, that was kind of like ugh. And then some parts get a little confusing on how to do what you need to do. But I'm gonna give this a low A personally, a low A. So yeah, I did like Twilight Princess more than I liked Wind Waker for multiple things. Zelda 2 Adventure in Link. I didn't like this as a kid. I don't like it now. This is another retroactively, oh, it was actually a good game, or it was the second one. They were trying things, so give it some slack. I'm not gonna give it some slack. That's like making Zelda into a 2D platformer is like making Mario into an adventure game. You completely flip the script. Yeah, there's sword fighting. Yeah, there's temples. It doesn't feel like a Zelda game, especially when I played it. There were already more Zelda games to compare it to. It was not a good Zelda game to. It's just it doesn't feel like Zelda. I feel like it would have been received way better if it wasn't Zelda. If it was something else, if it was Adventure of Smurf or whatever. Not like Blue People Smurf, but that's just a thing I thought of. But if it was not Zelda, it would probably receive better. But it doesn't feel like a Zelda game, and it's also insanely hard and crazy and not. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's confusing. It's way too hard. It's not Zelda. It doesn't feel like Zelda. It doesn't play like Zelda. It plays more like a side-scroller Final Fantasy than a nice little adventure romp with items and stuff. And it gets kind of ridiculous and stupid in how you have to get things. So, I'm putting that as a not as bad as Skyward Sword, but putting that as a D. And there's my tier list. So there is, Zelda is a great series, so that's why there is a lot of A's and B's, and I have 3 S's. I try thinking about, okay, like relative to the other Zelda games, of how good is it? Not just good as a game itself, but how good is it compared to other Zelda games? That's it, personally, obviously people are gonna get mad. Zelda 2, a lot of people will bring it up here, at A, or Ocarina. Some people are gonna bring it down to B or C because it's a popular thing to hate Ocarina now. Wind Waker probably be an S for some people. Breath of the Wild, S for half the people, B for another half of people. So, it's opinions. This is what I like. I try to think, personally and objectively. Like, personally, I could have put this, like, way up here at S. Ocarina of Time at S. But, give or take. So, there's my tier list. And, if you want to make your own tier list, then you go up here, you go to the tier list site, tiermaker.com, and you do it. So yeah, so if you like this episode, thumbs up. If you want to see more from us, subscribe. And until next time, bye.